What if I were to tell you that a simple $quarter, minted in 1980 with the D mint mark from Denver, a coin we've all seen 100 times in our pockets or at the grocery checkout, is a staggering focal point of numismatic fascination and could possibly be valued at a jaw-dropping $93 million in face value, a sum that seems absurd beyond belief yet has captured imaginations worldwide. And as you lean in, picture the dull metallic glint of that familiar coin suddenly transformed into an object of immense historical and financial significance, prompting eyes to widen and pulses to quicken as collectors, investors, historians, and the curious masses swirl together in a frenzy over provenance, mint errors, metal composition, survival rate, and mythical stories that give this quarter its near mythical status in the annals of American coinage history. For it wasn't just an ordinary coin that came out of the mint in 1980. There are tales of misprints, of pieces struck on experimental planchets, of clandestine overstrikes, of clandestine proof versions, and whispers of one or two, or maybe more, depending on which rumor you believe, specimens that deviated just enough from the standard production to enter the realm of collectibles worth sums only previously heard of in auctions for rare vintage masterpieces or even historical artifacts with centuries of lore behind them, thus weaving a narrative that merges modern mythology with the allure of legend. But let me walk you through every twist, nuance, claim, counterclaim, dispute, documented evidence, hearsay, expert opinion, purported photographs, alleged find stories from dusty safety deposit boxes, dusty attics, unlikely yard sales, as well as forensic metallurgical analyses and the uproar that spread across coin forums, social media, news outlets, and even segments of mainstream television where anchors classed the coin under spotlights and pundits debated the legitimacy of any one coin being worth such an astronomical figure. While agencies like the United States Mint have been forced to release statements, some deflecting, some denying any intentional release of error pieces, others coyly acknowledging that in the vast oceans of coins churned out every day, perfectly normal but extremely rare misstrikes could theoretically exist, and then private grading companies weighed in measuring strike clarity, die damage, planchet anomalies, edge letterings, luster preservation, and surface coloration under varying lights, all building up to valuation models that place certain coins, not all coins, mind you, just a handful of improbable specimens, in ranges from thousands to millions of dollars depending on condition, rarity, market demand, and the strength of the claim that a specific piece truly belongs to the fabled class known colloquially as the $1 million quarters. And the numbers get ever more sensational when you tally up all the supposed survivors of these anomalies, leading to aggregate face value estimates that inflate into tens of millions, with the most extreme appraisals pushing the ceiling up near $93 million, a sum so enormous it virtually eclipses entire collections of rarities. Imagine for a moment the collector's table at a major show, velvet trays displaying standard circulation 1980 D quarters alongside one encapsulated, certified, ultra-rare misprint error specimen that glints under the lights, with bidders in the room, whispering, raising paddles, their eyes on the prize, straps of notes at the ready, perhaps a billionaire or two sizing each other up across the auction room, and as the hammer falls, a figure materializes above $10 million, climbing rapidly, the crowd holding its collective breath as the final tally crashes into tens of millions. All over a coin that at face value is just 25 cents but in this anomalous context becomes an emblem of unbelievable worth, a symbol of the strange alchemy that turns something mundane into extraordinary, and in the aftermath experts would analyze every shimmer and scratch, every tonality of silver trace or copper nickel sheen, every microscopic die crack or planchet inclusion, seeking to authenticate or debunk, while on forums the public runs wild with speculation. More coins claim to exist, more stories of backyard discoveries, more "I found one" proclamations, each fueling the fire of belief that more of these quarter dollars could be out. They're waiting to be found in couch cushions or couch-bound jar collections, and businesses spring up offering appraisals, encapsulation services, authentication with prestige grading slabs, seminars, televised auctions, podcasts dissecting every detail, historical comparisons drawn to other legendary coins like the 1794 flowing hair dollar or the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle. Yet the allure of the 1980 D quarter remains profoundly modern, born in an age of internet virality, crowdsourced rumor, speculative bubbles, and the sense that any everyday object might harbor staggering value in the right light and narrative. And so the story becomes more than numismatics. It becomes a cultural phenomenon, a reflection of how modern society elevates objects to near mythical status, how rumors can inflate valuations into the stratosphere, how FOMO grips collectors who worry they might miss the X big coin, and how every drop of credible evidence or slender thread of possibility can be amplified 1,000-fold, turning a coin minted in small metal discs into a symbol of big money, speculation, history, and hope. And when the dust settles amid debates, countersuits, legal threats, certified statements, uncertain provenance chains, insurance valuations, crime scene stakes, private treasure hunters, and even movies or novels inspired by the story, the legend persists as an almost impossible reality. Quarter $1,980 DUSA coin and face value is $93 million worth big money in history. Next, 1984 P quarter dollar. Have you ever imagined finding in your pocket change a coin so rare and so loaded with history that it isn't just a quarter but a golden ticket to the past, a whisper of value that stretches beyond its face, a piece of metal that turns into a legend overnight when a collector's eye falls upon it? That's the story of the 1984 PUSA quarter dollar, a coin stamped in Philadelphia. Minted under normal circumstances, carrying a face value of 25 cents, a common coin. Encountered in registers, machines, and everyday pockets, yet one particular specimen somehow transcended its modest origin to claim a staggering valuation of $14 million, a number that breaks every expectation, that forces you to question how something so small, so ordinary, could ever become so extraordinary, and it's in this provocative contradiction that the fascination lies. A tale that weaves together minting errors, collector obsession, rarity, provenance, auction mania, and the psychology of value, asking what is worth more, the metal or the moment, the scarcity or the storytelling, the coin itself or what people are willing to believe about it. When the story first broke, people dismissed it, thinking it must be a hoax, an exaggeration, a misquoted headline from a tabloid. After all, a quarter is 4 quarters in a dollar, and dollars are counted by the dollar, not by myth. Yet as more experts examined the coin, photographs circulated, auction houses verified paperwork, and the provenance was traced with chain after chain of ownership, it began to sink in. This was not just a coin, this was perhaps the most valuable quarter ever identified, one of those artifacts that becomes valuable not because someone declared it so, but because the world, in every corner of numismatics, agreed to look again, to question assumptions about normalcy, to find in the mundane something miraculous. The 1984 P quarter was minted in Philadelphia, as indicated by the P mint mark, in an era of mass production where millions of quarters were struck every year, used in commerce, lost under carpets, thrown into jars, used in laundromats. Yet somehow one particular specimen survived in pristine condition, perhaps hidden away by someone who recognized its uniqueness. Perhaps flawed in barely detectable ways, perhaps bearing a minting error so minor that under casual inspection it goes unnoticed. But under the scrutiny of magnification it reveals a misalignment, a doubled die, a strike inconsistency, something which distinguishes it from the millions of identical counterparts. And collectors love such things. They build their careers, their reputations, their passions around these anomalies. The story intensified when a leading auctioneer, known for dealing in rare coins, authenticated the coin, showing photos, comparing mint records, checking weight, metal content, die variety, strike sharpness, all of which matched with extreme rarity for that particular die pairing, that particular minting sequence, that particular error chain, making it unlikely any others survive, or if they do, they remain undiscovered. The $14 million figure arises from the intersection of rarity and demand, a collector willing to pay astronomical sums for something unique, for something that carries both historical value and the emotional weight of owning a piece that others can only dream of. And when bidding wars erupted, rumors spread that wealthy private buyers, museums, Investment groups all had interests, some to display, some as trophy assets, others as hedge investments in collectibles, where value is not just in metal but in story, in prestige, in the almost mythical aura of owning something one in millions, something that challenges definitions of value. As news of the coin spread beyond numismatic circles into mainstream media, people who had never thought about coin collecting before became fascinated. How does a quarter, a coin you might use to buy a soda, ever become worth millions? And that question is the crux of the matter. Value is not innate, it is agreed, it is negotiated, it is cultural, and sometimes value explodes when everything aligns: scarcity, condition, provenance, demand, and a narrative that captures attention. In the case of the 1984 P quarter, the condition is pristine, graded by professional grading services, certified, encased, and the error, whatever form it takes, doubled die, struck off center, lamination flaw, some mint anomaly, is enough to make it distinct, unique, unprecedented among that year's die varieties, and collectors' love. First to market, only example known, highest grade known. All phrases that turn ordinary coins into legendary artifacts. But skeptics ask, has any other evidence emerged? Are photographs conclusive? Do mint records support the existence of the supposed error? Has the coin ever changed hands publicly in a recorded auction? Or is this all speculative, hype built on whispers in forums and social media posts? Some who have studied the case claim that initial reports may have inflated the story. Perhaps the coin is more ordinary than claimed, perhaps the grading was overly generous, or perhaps claims of 14 million are speculative, misquoted, a figure thrown out to generate clicks. But other experts stand by the valuation, citing comparisons to other rare U.S. coins that have fetched similarly mythic prices: double eagles, rare early cents, legendary proofs, and say that if this coin is truly unique in its error and in its condition, 14 million is not impossible. The history of coin value is filled with precedent. Coins once considered common become rare through attrition, loss, melting, where coins with small errors overlooked in small collections later discovered and valued, collectors willing to pay hefty sums for one-of-a-kind pieces, technology enabling better detection and authentication, the internet expanding markets globally, and with each milestone auction, records are broken. Expectations reset. What was impossible yesterday becomes accepted today, and the 1984 P quarter became part of that tradition, the coin that forcefully reminds us that we should never disregard the potential value hidden in plain sight. Consider too the emotional element, owning something that few others can see, something that appears ordinary to most but extraordinary to those who know, a sense of connection to time, to craftsmanship, to the nearly invisible hand that struck that coin at a moment in Philadelphia's mint when dies were being hand-polished, when presses were calibrated, when errors could creep in, when batches of metal might vary, when prioritization of appearance sometimes clashed with mass output, and one slip or imperfection becomes a lifelong obsession for someone who spots it. Also consider the provenance. Did the coin remain in a private collection for decades, unnoticed by major catalogers? Did it circulate briefly before being set aside? Was it part of a hoard discovered in some forgotten corner? Did someone recognize its potential early and protect it? Each step in its history adds to its aura, adds to its value, because collectors bid not just on metal but on stories. And then there is the marketplace. Rare coin auction houses with global reach, wealthy investors looking for diversification, museums seeking prestige, collectors competing across continents, social media amplifying rumor, photographs, claims, debates. As word spreads, value escalates, not always linearly, sometimes exponentially. Each mention adds weight, each expert affirmation adds legitimacy. Until a figure like 14 million is not just claimed but believed, until offers are made, until the possibility of private sale is entertained, until the coin becomes legendary even among those who will never see it. And think too of inflation, economic uncertainty, desire for tangible assets, collectibles as alternative investments. In uncertain times, people seek things that cannot be printed, that cannot be devalued by central bank decisions. Rare coins, vintage art, artifacts, they have that appeal, a hedge against chaos. So a well-documented, authenticated, unmatched coin becomes more than a curiosity. It becomes a financial asset, something people talk about at dinner tables, in investment meetings, in forums, in podcasts, and the 1984 P quarter, once mundane, now becomes one such asset, a convergence of history, error, condition, and story, demanding attention and commanding price. Some say we are witnessing numismatics at its peak, where social media trends, viral appeal, photographic documentation, virtual databases, global shipping make possible what used to take decades to establish. And a coin like this doesn't need local collectors, it gains international fame, buyers from Asia, Europe, the Middle East, bidding unseen, trusting reputation, certificates, provenance chains, and sometimes paying blind for promises of rarity. Critics warn, however, that hype can be dangerous, that sometimes stories build before facts, that valuations can be speculative until a sale actually happens under public, verifiable conditions, that people might be misled by inflated claims, photoshopped images, unverifiable sources. Next, 1995 P quarter dollar coin. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating and jaw-dropping story of one of the most astonishing coins ever to pass through the hands of collectors and enthusiasts, a coin that has shocked even the most seasoned numismatists around the world with its unimaginable value, the 1995 P Washington quarter, a coin that, despite being minted in huge numbers and intended for everyday circulation, has achieved legendary status in the coin collecting universe for a very rare and mysterious reason, a coin so rare and riddled with unique errors that it has been valued at an eye-watering $17 million, making it one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered, and the story behind its worth is a wild ride full of minting mistakes, production anomalies, historical context, and collector obsession, all of which contribute to the immense value this unassuming quarter has managed to command in today's market. So buckle up as we explore the full scope of this numismatic phenomenon, beginning with how a common quarter struck in Philadelphia became the holy grail of modern coin collecting, because understanding this coin requires us to first take a quick glance at the context of American coinage in the mid-1990s, a period that was supposed to represent stability and precision in minting techniques thanks to advances in technology and improved quality control. Yet ironically, this era gave birth to one of the most curious minting mistakes ever known, and the 1995 P quarter is the result of a highly unusual and unlikely combination of minting errors, all of which collided to create a single specimen so bizarre and off-kilter that its uniqueness turned it from spare change into a multi-million-dollar artifact, starting with the misalignment error that threw the coin's obverse and reverse designs out of synchronization, causing an off-center strike that distorted George Washington's portrait and resulted in a partial collar strike that flattened one edge of the coin in a way not typically seen, further compounded by a double die obverse which created visible doubling in the inscription of the word liberty and in the date itself, both anomalies that can significantly increase the value of a coin even when found individually, but together they represent a multiplicative effect on the rarity and desirability of the coin, and if that wasn't already enough, reports suggest that the 1995 P quarter in question may have also been struck on a transitional planchet, meaning it was minted on a blank intended for a different denomination or metal composition, possibly from a leftover planchet of the previous year or even another denomination like the dime, creating a weight discrepancy that would not match standard quarter specifications and which would easily be detected by any careful collector or expert with a digital scale. And when such a combination of errors occurs, especially on a coin minted at a time when such mistakes were exceedingly rare, it instantly grabs the attention of elite collectors and institutions willing to pay extreme premiums to secure a one-of-a-kind specimen, and in the case of the $17 million quarter, the coin was not only verified by multiple grading agencies but also documented as being in near-perfect uncirculated condition, with a luster and sharpness that defied expectations considering the chaotic way in which it was struck, and this brings us to the role of human error and machinery malfunction in the creation of such an anomaly, because the United States Mint, despite all its technological advancements, is still vulnerable to mistakes when dies wear out, collars slip, or planchets are incorrectly fed into the press, and in this rare case, multiple things went wrong in perfect sequence. including the possibility of a rotated die strike which may have caused an unusual orientation between the front and back of the coin, as well as evidence of grease-filled dies that blurred some of the finer details on the reverse side, leaving a ghostly impression of the eagle's feathers, which for eagle-eyed collectors makes the piece all the more enticing. And as you can imagine, coins like this are often the stuff of legend, discussed in forums, trade shows, and coin club meetings, but rarely if ever seen in the wild. Yet one lucky individual stumbled upon this jaw-dropping coin, likely as pocket change or possibly from a bank roll or estate sale, only to have it authenticated and appraised at a staggering multimillion-dollar value, and from there, the coin's notoriety exploded, circulating in elite auctions and private collections, each time driving its mystique and market value even higher. Because when you have a coin that combines a double die error, off-center strike, possible transitional planchet, partial collar strike, rotated dies, and grease-filled dies, all preserved in near-pristine condition, you have a coin that doesn't just defy the odds, it shatters them entirely, representing a 1 in a billion kind of specimen that embodies everything collectors dream of when searching through old jars of change or buying rolls from the bank. And while many fakes and replicas have tried to imitate its traits, only one authentic example of this specific combination has been verified to date, which is what makes the value climb even higher. Because scarcity is the golden rule in numismatics, and nothing is scarcer than a unique coin verified by top grading authorities like PCGS or NGC, and accompanied by a paper trail of provenance that traces its path from discovery to auction block to private collection. And to further understand why collectors are willing to shell out 8 figures for this coin, you have to also consider the psychology of collecting, how desire, status, completionism, and historical significance all intertwine to form a market where value is not only determined by intrinsic factors but also by narrative, uniqueness, and competitive spirit. And the 1995 P quarter has all of that in spades, from its mysterious origin at the Philadelphia Mint to its flawless preservation and unmatched combination of minting anomalies, which makes it far more than just a piece of currency. It becomes a conversation piece, a museum-grade artifact, and a financial asset all rolled into one. And as interest in rare coins continues to grow, particularly with the rise of online marketplaces and social media groups dedicated to coin hunting and error coin discoveries, stories like this serve as a catalyst that fuels even more interest and passion in the hobby, encouraging collectors of all ages to keep searching their pocket change, examine every quarter with a magnifying glass, and dream of finding the next multimillion-dollar mistake. And although the odds are long, the mere possibility that a coin like this could exist in someone's drawer or piggy bank adds an irresistible layer of excitement and potential to the world of numismatics. And so as we wrap up this deep dive into the incredible saga of the 1995 P quarter that sold for $17 million, let it be a reminder that even the most ordinary objects, like a simple 25-cent piece, can carry extraordinary stories, immense historical and financial value, and life-changing potential when the right mix of circumstances, errors, and timing align in just the right way. And who knows, maybe the next legendary coin is out there right now, waiting to be discovered by someone just like you. So keep your eyes peeled, your magnifiers ready, and stay tuned to this channel for more amazing stories from the world of coins, collectibles, and the unexpected treasures that might be hiding right in your pocket. Next, the 1988 P quarter dollar coin that has made waves in the collector world by allegedly being worth $11 million due to a series of dramatic errors and mistakes. And in this long exploration we will unpack what could possibly make a seemingly ordinary coin from 1988 worth so many millions, what specific minting errors are claimed, how these mistakes arise, what the theories are for its rarity, what collectors are saying, what the possible scenarios are that could justify that price, and what one should know if they ever stumble across something similar. Thank you all for sticking with me as I walk you through every nuance, every speculation, every plausible twist in this coin's tale, and let's get started. The year is 1988. The P mint mark indicates the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The denomination is a $0.25, 25 cents, featuring George Washington on the obverse, the traditional eagle reverse, a coin that was meant to be common, everyday pocket change, not especially rare, not especially sought after in that particular year. Because coins from the Philadelphia Mint in 1988 are everywhere in unremarkable condition. But what if something went terribly wrong in the minting process, or something extraordinarily right in terms of error such that one coin emerges from the mass production as a freak of nature, something so rare that even among the millions minted, it becomes unique, or nearly unique, and thus acquires an astronomical premium in value? That is the claim regarding this particular 1988 P quarter, that it possesses multiple serious errors, or perhaps what some call over-errors, that make it unlike any other, giving rise to an $11 million valuation. So what might those errors be? First, there may be a die crack or die break of such magnitude that the metal forming the coin's face is distorted beyond the usual light die imperfections. Perhaps a massive die clash where parts of the design from one die get impressed onto another die, causing ghost images, doubling, or overlapping features so pronounced they resemble foreign coins or merge design elements in unpredictable ways. Imagine the portrait of Washington double-struck slightly off alignment, producing a ghost image overlapping his profile, or the date 1988, being doubled, tripled, or smeared in such a way that you see clear separation in layers of digits. Or possibly that the mint mark, P, was misplaced, off the disc entirely, or stamped twice, or stamped through some foreign object or foreign material, leaving unexpected marks or foreign metal residues. Secondly, there may be what is called a broad strike or off-center strike, the planchet, coin blank, not properly secured, giving the coin a misshapen outline, thin edges, stretched or compressed fields, the rim missing or only partial, so the design extends beyond its normal border or is cut off, so you might have a quarter with part of George Washington's cheek or hair trailing off into blank space. Or parts of the reverse eagle or olive branches chopped off. Third, planchet errors might be dramatic, wrong alloy or composition used, wrong metal blank entirely, laminated metal flaws, cracked planchet layers, or even striking on an incorrect planchet, for example a planchet intended for a $50 or some other denomination, making the thickness or metal color unusual. Or maybe the planchet is a clipped planchet, or clipped on more than one side, or weird shapes where stray trimming or metal scraps intervened. Fourth, mint error combinations. Imagine a coin with a double strike and off-center and broad strike and die break, making it a perfect storm of errors compounded, which exponentially increases rarity. Fifth, overdate or underdate die error possibilities, perhaps remnants of previous year's digits faintly visible under the 1988 date or parts of older dies reused, making an overdate like 1988 over 1987 or something more exotic like remnants of another mint mark. Sixth, die polishing or die gouges leaving unintentional gouge lines in high relief areas, cracking under pressure, polished away design elements, or over-polished areas giving flat spots or mirror fields where there shouldn't be any. Then there may be fill lines, or cut errors where chunks of the die are broken off leaving raised blank areas on the coin once struck. Perhaps even alignment errors, such as coins struck with misaligned obverse and reverse, so that when turned over the reverse is rotated relative to the obverse in a strange way. All of these types of errors are known in coin collecting but usually in mild forms. What would make this 1988 P quarter worth statement of $11 million is that it is rumored to possess several of these dramatic error types together, and to exist in such extraordinarily perfect condition that it is considered unique. Let's examine why such errors are so rare, and how mistakes in minting could lead to something so valuable. The United States Mint in Philadelphia in 1988 used high production standards, producing coins in massive quantities, so the probability that a planchet with composition mistake or huge die break would survive the quality control and make its way into circulation is extremely low. Most coins with severe errors are caught and melted, or destroyed, or fail to pass inspection, or are so damaged in wear that whatever error remains is indistinct. Therefore, for such a coin to exist, it would have to survive minting, inspection, handling, circulation or lack thereof, and then remain in a condition often described as proof or at least mint state, with high grade, nearly perfect surfaces, minimal contact wear, strong strike, sharp details in the error, minimal post-mint damage. That yields a combinatorial rarity. Not only must the error exist, but the coin must survive intact and recognized by someone. On top of that, for it to reach a valuation of $11 million, it must be widely accepted by major graders or by numismatic arms such as PCGS, NGC, or NX, with certification, authentication, possibly even microscopy, documentation of its provenance. Who owned it, where it was found, how it came to light. That provenance is often crucial in building market confidence. Now, claims around this coin being valued at $11 million likely derive from an auction offer or a speculative listing. Very few, if any, coins have sold for such an amount unless they are extremely famous, e.g., 1933 Double Eagle, Flowery Stars quarter rarities, etc. So, in the case of a 1988 P quarter, one must assess, is this value realistic, or is it hyped? What are the possibilities that could make it legitimate? First possibility: unique one-of-a-kind error or error combination never seen before, giving it the status of a numismatic unicorn, a coin that is completely alone in its error type, thus found nowhere else in any collection or inventory, among collectors, dealers, or mint archives. Second possibility: a major numismatic celebrity or institution backs or endorses it, giving legitimacy. Perhaps U.S. Mint archives confirm that a die with that specific error was in use for only a few strikes, then retired, melted, or destroyed. Third possibility: solid, well-documented provenance, perhaps discovered in a hoard, or hidden in a bank vault or forgotten safe deposit box, with perfect uncirculated condition, slabbed and graded with top grade, for instance MS70, or an equivalent of PR70 in proof condition, showing sharp eye appeal, no toning or spots, flawless surfaces except for the errors themselves. Fourth possibility: that the errors are dramatic enough visually and scientifically to attract media attention, making the coin famous, which inflates value, collectors' eagerness, auction house hype, public fascination, all push up price. Fifth possibility: that the market for rare error coins continues to grow, with ultra-wealthy collectors competing for unique pieces, meaning someone may be willing to pay $11 million just for bragging rights, for acquisition of something no one else owns. Sixth possibility: that someone made an agreement, or pre-sale, or private sale where a wealthy investor committed that figure, or the coin was insured or appraised at that amount, even if no public sale has yet occurred. Sometimes appraised values get misreported or taken as sale value. Now, let's go back and list what specific error or mistake the 1988 P quarter in question is claimed to have. Some reports allege that the die used had been altered improperly. One story claims that the date, 1988, has an overdate showing faint traces of 1987 beneath or around it, visible under magnification, that the P mint mark is doubled or struck through foreign material causing odd splitting, that during the striking process, the die shifted so dramatically that the design is misaligned both left-right and top-bottom, so that on the obverse Washington's portrait is shifted halfway off and part of the rim is missing, that on the reverse, the eagle and arrows and olive branches are cut off in wild ways, perhaps parts missing, perhaps those design elements extended beyond the rim, indicating die break or misalignment. Last. Now we're talking about the 1980 D Washington quarter, a coin you might think is just pocket change, but under very special circumstances, this one coin has been valued at a staggering $13 million, and it's all because of a series of remarkable minting errors, anomalies, and rare production quirks that elevate it from being an ordinary 25-cent piece to one of the most coveted collector's items in the entire world. So stick around as we unravel every intricate detail that makes this coin not just rare, but practically priceless, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why this particular quarter commands such a mind-blowing price tag on the collector's market. So let's dive right into the mysterious and exciting history behind the 1980 D Washington quarter, minted in Denver, which under normal circumstances would have been just another addition to the billions of coins produced that year. But somewhere along the production line, something went terribly, or miraculously, wrong. And that mistake, that deviation from the standard minting protocol, led to the birth of an ultra-rare specimen that defies all expectations. Now first let's understand that the Denver Mint in 1980 was using highly automated systems with quality control measures that were supposed to catch and reject defective coins before they ever reached circulation. However, in this case, what experts believe happened is a rare convergence of multiple minting errors on a single coin, and that's where things start getting really interesting. Because we're not talking about just one error like a misstrike or off-center design. This coin exhibits a combination of dramatic and near-impossible errors including double striking, broad striking, misaligned dies, off-metal planchet use, and even evidence of a transitional error, where remnants of the previous year's die pairing may have been accidentally used in early production runs. And when you factor in the way these errors interact with each other on a single coin, it creates a numismatic anomaly that is practically unheard of, and collectors go absolutely wild for these once-in-a-generation kinds of mistakes. Now let's break that down a bit further, starting with the double striking, which means the coin was struck twice by the dies, but not in perfect alignment. So you see a ghostly shadow effect where Washington's bust appears to have a second image overlapping slightly to the side, creating a doubling that is immediately obvious to even the untrained eye. And then we have the broad strike error, which occurs when the retaining collar that keeps the coin's shape fails, causing the metal to spread outwards during the strike, giving the coin a wider, flatter appearance than normal, and that alone can be a major error. But in this case, it happened along with a misaligned die strike, where either the obverse or reverse die was not properly centered. So the design elements are shifted awkwardly in one direction, sometimes cutting off part of the lettering or the edge details. And yet somehow the mint marks and crucial date remain visible, which is part of what makes it so unique. Because often with errors this severe, key identifying details are lost, reducing collector value, but in this one extraordinary instance, all the important markers are still clear, including the Bull D mint mark indicating it was struck in Denver, and the crisp 1980 date, confirming the year of minting, and as if that weren't enough, analysis has shown that the planchet, the blank piece of metal that becomes the coin, may have been one intended for a different denomination or composition entirely, which is what's known as an off-metal error, possibly a leftover blank from the previous year's Susan B. Anthony dollar production, or even a foreign coin blank accidentally mixed into the US batch, and this introduces the possibility of a transitional error, where the mint is moving from one year's metal composition or design standard to another, and a few coins are mistakenly made with the wrong materials or design elements. And that's exactly what seems to have happened here, with metallurgical testing indicating unusual trace elements not found in standard 1980 quarter composition, raising further speculation that this coin was part of a tiny handful that slipped through the cracks during a shift in planchet sourcing or quality control procedures. And when you consider the combination of all these rare anomalies, double strike, broad strike, misalignment, off-metal planchet, and transitional features, all on one single coin, the odds are astronomically low, so low that it's entirely possible only one or two such coins even exist. And now let's talk about the provenance of this $13 million specimen, which was discovered not in some ancient vault or museum, but reportedly turned up at a local coin show, where a savvy collector spotted something unusual about a seemingly common quarter. And upon closer examination and verification by multiple grading agencies including PCGS and NGC, it was confirmed to be a coin of monumental rarity and value, receiving one of the highest error coin designations ever awarded, and eventually selling in a private auction to an anonymous high-profile collector for over $13 million, which shattered all previous records for error coin sales, even surpassing many legendary coins like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar, and experts believe its value could continue to climb, especially if no other identical specimens are ever found. And what's truly fascinating is that this coin challenges everything we thought we knew about quality control at the US Mint, suggesting that even in modern times, with all the advanced technology and inspection protocols, incredible mistakes can still happen. And sometimes those mistakes create masterpieces of unintentional art that are so rare, so unique, and so historically significant that they become priceless artifacts of American minting history. And let's not forget the ripple effect a discovery like this can have on the entire numismatic community. Because once news broke of this $13 million quarter, collectors around the world began digging through their own 1980 D quarters, hoping to spot even a fraction of the errors present on the ultra-rare version. And while most are perfectly normal coins worth face value or perhaps a couple of dollars in high-grade condition, a few more examples have turned up showing minor errors, such as slight off-centering, weak strikes, or die cracks, which, although nowhere near as valuable, still spark interest and add excitement to the hunt. And that's really the beauty of coin collecting. You never know when a simple, everyday object might turn out to be a multimillion-dollar treasure, and every coin has a story. But very few have a saga like the 1980 D quarter with cascading errors that line up to create what many are calling the holy grail of minting mistakes. And what makes this tale even more intriguing is the ongoing mystery surrounding exactly how such a coin was ever produced and released into circulation without being caught. And while the US Mint has not issued an official statement on this specific coin, internal sources and numismatic historians have speculated that it may have been struck during a shift change, or in a brief moment when quality control machines were offline for maintenance, or possibly even during the testing of new die setups, when procedures are less strict and experimental strikes sometimes occur. And although deliberate minting of error coins is illegal and strictly prohibited, there have been rare historical instances where unusual specimens were struck unofficially by mint employees, sometimes referred to as mint mules, or midnight strikes. And while there's no concrete evidence that the $13 million 1980 D quarter was created intentionally, its complex combination of errors certainly fuels speculation, and some believe this could be one of the rare cases where a rogue or experimental strike made it into circulation before it could be destroyed. And this mystery only adds to the allure and mystique surrounding the coin, making it not just a rare artifact, but also a puzzle that intrigues collectors, historians, and even skeptics alike, and beyond just the numismatic circles. This story has caught the attention of mainstream media, with features in coin magazines, online forums, and even appearances on collectible shows and finance blogs, all of which have further driven up interest and potential market value. And it serves as a powerful reminder that sometimes the smallest things can be worth the most, and that incredible value can come from the most unexpected places. And who knows, you might be carrying a fortune in your pocket right now without even realizing it. So if you ever come across a 1980 D Washington quarter, especially one that looks a little odd or off, don't spend it. Take a closer look, get it examined by a professional, because while lightning rarely strikes twice, in the world of error coins, anything is possible, and the next big discovery could be just a coin toss away. And that's it for today's deep dive into the unbelievable story of the 1980 D quarter that sold for $13 million thanks to a unique storm of minting errors and mysterious circumstances, proving once again that in the world of coin collecting, even the most ordinary objects can turn out to be once-in-a-lifetime treasures if you just know what to look for.